What does a party host and a movie director have in common?
I think that being a director on set, you are really setting the tone, you're setting the vibe. I treat it like people are at my house party because I want them to all be comfortable. Do you need water? Do you need anything? How we doing? Checking in, having conversation. Like, we're here together. This is a team effort. This is a team sport, if you want to call it that. And so I think that I like to play host. I love hosting in real life. I lived at a house for a while back in the day that had a pool in the backyard, and every weekend I would host friends to come over. I'd grill up burgers and dogs, and I'd buy all the beer and just host all my friends in LA to come by every weekend for a whole summer. I did this one summer, and I like playing host. I like, in my friend group, I'll be the one who's sort of organizing the trips to Joshua Tree for the weekend and run a house and be like, guys, I like to bring people together. That's just like instilled in me a little bit in my nature. So I use that advantage as a director as well to really create an environment where, like, I'm bringing people together to hopefully we can all leave set feeling like we had a good time today. Like, if I'm going to be making movies for the rest of my life, hopefully, I'm going to be spending a lot of time on set. And time on set should not be a place that people dread or are annoyed. It's a lot of work. Don't get me wrong, but it should also be a place where, like, we can, like, acknowledge that we're in this together and we're having a good time, hopefully. And, like, it's just, the director sets the tone. I believe in that through and through. And so I want to set a really good positive tone and a welcoming tone and a tone that says, hey, you're being valued.
Sure, and you're also taking care of things. Hey guys, can you make sure to not smoke out on the terrace, or don't let the dog out, or coaster for the, like, as we said earlier, for the drink. So you're also protecting your group as well.
100% that, and I'll say one more thing on top of it. I think, I like to bend over backwards in terms of like let me, I'll help clean up the mess, or if I have to go pick up the food, or if I have to give up my seat so someone from the crew can have a seat. Like, lead by example. It's sort of my mentality of all of this as well, and so. I don't know. I think if your crew sees that, like, this is how the director's operating, if the director's willing to kind of commit themselves this way and kind of have this much respect for everyone, then I want to give that respect back to them as well. And so, like, it's a yin and yang. It's a two. We're all in it together, sort of bouncing back and forth. Like, let's just all, there's no, like, I'm the director, I'm above you all. You do it. Like, I don't want to be late. I don't know. It's just like. I'm in the trenches with you guys. Like, we're here together, but, like, yes, we're here to help service the story in my head. And because of that, I'm going to treat you guys as well as I can treat you and make it as great of an experience as I can make it.
As a director, what's your approach to building a scene?
As a director, my approach to building a scene, well, certainly, where does the scene start? Where does the scene end? And what happens in the middle? So beginning, middle, and end. I don't care if it's a small scene, like I was saying earlier. The approach to building a scene, and then asking myself, how does this drive the story forward? What is the big beat of the scene? Why is this scene in the movie? And if I can answer those questions, I'll have a good grasp on how to direct it, because I know exactly kind of like the reason for it, and then I kind of know the tone and the vibe of what the scene needs to be, and then I can better give the direction to the actors and to the DP of what we need. If I can't answer those questions well, and I don't really have a good understanding of why the scene's here, what I'm trying to get out of it, then I ask myself, well, do I even need this scene? There's something great about being on set and being like, you know what? I don't need this scene. I just edited the scene. I can just cut from this scene to this scene. This scene I don't need. Guys, we're moving on. And maybe you save 30 minutes or an hour or so on time, and then you just keep moving on. And so, understanding why the scene is there in the first place will help you figure out how to direct it, or even if you even need to direct it.
And when you arrived at the location where you filmed Burt, there was an appliance in the middle of the room.
Yeah, there's a standing washer and dryer in the living room at Burt and Steve's house.
And so you somehow worked with that. I don't know if it's giving too much away.
I think it's okay.
Okay, so that was unexpected when you showed up there?
Yeah. So exactly, when we did our test shoot, we did a little test shoot, like I said. We took a camera over there, me, Oliver, went over there one day to test it out and meet Steve and just sort of see how this thing goes. There was a standing washer and dryer in the middle of their living room, just like completely, you have to walk around it to get to the kitchen. It's just crazy. And we're like, what's going on with this washer and dryer? And Steve's like, I'm trying to get them to return it, and we got the other one in the back, but that's not working. I mean, I'm like, I'm like, Burt, how long has this been here for? He's like 8 months. I'm like, 8 months? You've had a washer and dryer standing in the middle of your living room? And then, so we kind of kept it there, and then Steve at one point was like, is the washer and dryer going to be a problem? Is it going to be in the way of the camera and stuff? And I'm like, Steve, don't even worry about it. We'll write it into the script. And so we made the washer and dryer a little bit of a character, no spoilers, of course, but yeah, we kind of rewrote it into the script, and 3 years later, since when we first met Steve to now and so forth, the washer and dryer today is still sitting there, and I'm not joking. And so it's become this iconic symbol of the whole movie and the world, and it's just such a great, beautiful story of the whole thing where it's like, you just use what you got in front of you, make it work, and find a way to really embrace it. And when people see the movie Burt, hopefully they'll see how we use the washer and dryer in the movie in some ways, and how it's just kind of this character that's always standing there. And it's really, it adds a charm, it adds a quirkiness. I would not have written that, right? So that's the beauty. That's kind of back to what we were talking earlier. That's the stuff of the real life around me in this process of how we make these movies that I would not be writing if I sat down and wrote the full script. I don't know if I would have thought a washer and dryer just standing in the middle of the living room. Like, I'm not Charlie Kaufman. I don't write those kind of things, right? That's kind of a weird, bizarre thing. But the fact that it was real life and that we just, I do think I have the eye of like seeing something that's real and then being able to use it. Even the eye of like meeting Burt and being like, this guy he needs a movie. I don't know what it is, but he needs a movie. Just like, I do have a good sense of that. And I think seeing the washer and dryer was part of that, where it's like, yeah, no, we'll make it work. There's something here. I don't know what it is totally, but we'll make it work. And we did. And I'm thrilled that we did. I think it adds a lot of charm and kind of authenticity to the movie.
Absolutely. Is your primary reason for working with non-actors to be able to save money on production?
Yeah, it's a good question. Primary reason working for non-actors. Yeah, I mean, I've thought about this a lot. Why do I get attracted to working with non-actors? And there is something to it. There is something about, and Oliver, who I make a lot of these things with, also talks about the idea of like honoring sort of some of these people who are maybe more on the fringe of society, people who are sort of the low rent characters in the world, so to speak. Or, I mean, they're filled with richness, but like just people that you don't always think about. And like, I think there's like a real beauty to these types of people who have so much to offer and shine so brightly. Sometimes they just need a spotlight. Sometimes they just need someone who gives them an opportunity to sing, And I think I think we see that in ourselves. I think, like, truthfully, I think Oliver and I see that in who we are, who I am, a little bit of like kind of living on the fringes at times and, being the authentic, hopefully odd person that I can be, to some people can think of me as Joe's his own self. There's no question about that, right? That's Joe. Like, and I think, I see that in other people, and I do like it. I like it. It brings a charm. It brings a humanity to the roles. I don't have to wait around to get, some big movie star to read a script necessarily, or I don't have the money, and it's like, whatever. It's just like, I don't know. There's a million factors. I, of course, love working with professional actors. I can't wait to work with some certain actors who I dream to work with one day. But there's also a beauty into just sort of working with, the person who rides their bike by and being like, that person looks interesting. Let's see if they want to be in the movie for a second.
How is directing non-actors different from quote-unquote professional actors?
Yeah, directing non-actors is different. I feel like with non-actors, they're a little bit more moldable. They're a little bit more like, I can just sort of be free to maybe be a little bit more blunt and just say something to them that, like, sometimes a professional actor, there's a little bit of, this is not with everyone, but sometimes a little bit more ego involved, or a little bit more preciousness, or a little bit more like, they are pros. So like they have their whole mentality of how they want to approach their work, and I want to honor that, but I think I have to sort of like understand what their approach is a little bit first before I get too involved, so we can figure out what our communication is, because they're also doing the homework, they understand the script, they're probably understanding the character better than even I understand it. But with a non-actor, there's a little bit, and also the non-actor is usually playing a version of themselves. So it's a little bit less like, Burt's not sitting there and be like, who is this Burt guy? How do I even tap into who Burt is? Like, Burt's Burt, and all I have to do is guide him. And he trusts me. And these guys, and I earn trust from these people I work with. I know I do. I try to, and they say I do. And so once they trust me, they can kind of go with the flow a little bit, and I can maybe speak a little more freely, or even just give them a line read. Just be like, hey, Burt, can you say it more like this? Yeah, sure. There's no like, well, I would never, there's just, I'm not trying to, say no shade to professional actors. Love professional actors. It's just different. So I think as maybe a bit of a control freak that I am, I don't know if I'm using that term properly, I do think I have a little bit of control and just having a vision I want to follow. And I think maybe I'm more free to kind of allow myself to work with non-actors who are just sort of like excited to do it, as opposed to having to maybe sometimes figure out a process with a more trained actor that I have to, nurture in a good way, but also it's just, I don't know. It is different. I'm not gonna lie, but like I love both, but I am attracted to both. I don't know.
Well,
Maybe not the best answer, but
you say control freak as it's a bad thing, but as the quote host of the party, there is an element of wanting to control the environment for better or worse. You want to make sure things are running smoothly.
yeah, and also like I owe it to the crew and to the cast and to the audience to make a good movie. Like, and I owe it to myself. I owe it to everyone. Like, if the movie's bad because I blame the director first. I tell my students this all the time. I blame the director if the movie's bad. I give the director all the credit if it's great. And I'm not even saying there's not other pieces in play, but that's just how it's going to be. And, back to the earlier conversation too, when Oliver called me and said, I have this money to make this movie for Burt, even though it wasn't that much, like his family, his mom, his sister, they gave some money to us to make a movie, even if it's just a few $1,000s. Like, I want to prove to them that this is a valuable thing that they're investing in. I want to do my part to say, hey, thank you. I'm going to honor the fact that you gave us some money to play with and try to make the absolute best movie I can. And so when I say control freak, it just means keeping my hands on the steering wheel or hosting the party. I don't want to, give up that sort of, vision or control, because like I know if I can keep the reins and I can steer the ship, we're going to get to a great spot with this project. And that's why I had some problems working in the professional world maybe I'm just a director on a TV show for a couple episodes. You don't have any control, which is fine. It's more of a day job, a paid gig, but I can't guarantee the outcome. I can't guarantee anything. I can only do my job and then walk away, and the producers and the editors and the writers and everyone will decide what it's going to be. And that's cool. And that's one way to work. But if I'm trying to make a movie that's like a Joe Burke film, and I want to make a movie that also honors the people who've given their time and resources and money and donations and everything, then like it's on me to make sure that this thing is going to work. And there's a pressure to that, but it's also, I do really honor that. Like I don't take making movies lightly. I really want to make good movies. I want to make movies that people can really feel something at the end of the day and be inspired and laugh and cry and be scared or whatever the genre is. And I want to earn that credit. I want to earn that. I want to say, hey, we take this seriously. And so, yeah.
Since most of the work that you do is improv, how many takes will you do for one scene?
Yeah, I don't overshoot. I can give you one example in Burt. And because again, we're shooting 2 cameras on Burt. We had 2 cameras cross shooting. So because I'm covering the scene that way, and I have a camera on both characters when they're talking or eating dinner or whatever, I can have the conversation be natural, and I don't have to repeat it because I have both angles covered in that one take. If I was shooting one camera and it's like, okay, do it again, and then do a, turn around and now same thing, do it again. That's one way to work too, and I've worked that way as well, and I can do well in that avenue as well. But what I like about the 2 cameras is, especially for like more of an improvised, and it is improvised. I know there's a looseness to it, it's sort of a controlled improvised, but like a looseness for sure. And whatever happens, and whatever happens can happen because I'm covering it from both angles at that time. And then, like I said earlier, I can build the movie in the editing room and kind of shape the scene however I want because I have the whole scene covered from both angles. So it's very important to kind of cover it that way. And I think your question was sort of, the actual question was sort of.
Right. So then you just pretty much do 1 or 2 takes then?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's the answer. So
okay, sure.
not many takes, 1 or 2 takes. One thing I love to do, and I tell my students this too, is at the end of the take, because I'm watching closely and I'm making sure I get it. And in my head, I'm watching all the pieces. And if I feel like, okay, yeah, I got it. I'm kind of like checking off the boxes in my head mentally. Got that beat. That didn't quite land. Got that beat. Okay, great. So this one beat that didn't land, I might be like, okay, keep the camera rolling real quick. Hold on, still roll. Burt, just go back, or Oliver, go back, or whatever, go back. Say this line, say it one more time. Let's take it from there. And maybe I'll pick it up for a moment. Or be like, hey, instead of saying it this way, can you say it this way? Or I'll get a couple options, and I'll pick it up a little bit and be like, all right, and cut, got it. So even though it was basically one take on the slate, I'll talk, I'll interrupt. I love doing that as opposed to cutting the camera, reslating, resetting up. Every time you cut the camera, it's 5-10 minutes in between, da-da-da-da-da. So a way to kind of keep moving is just keep the camera rolling. Jump in, pick up what you need at the end, grab that little moment, grab an alt take or an alternative moment if you want, and then cut and then move on. And if I do that, I'm like, yeah, 1 take, 2 takes maybe, and we're done.
And then with the scene, are you putting both on the timeline? from camera A and camera B, and then just kind of sitting back and watching it and seeing
Yeah.
what stands out to you?
Yeah, so exactly. My editing process, the first several days. So here's my editing process. My editing process is this. I love to sync all the sound by the slate. I know there's programs where you can just plug in the sound, plug in the video, hit the button, and it automatically basically syncs up. I don't really like to use that. I like to kind of mark the in point on the slate, mark the in point on the audio file for every single take for the whole shoot. And I'll spend maybe 2 days doing that, because it allows me to visit all the footage a little bit and just get a sense of it all and just make sure everything's syncing properly. And I get really familiar. I feel more confident knowing I got a chance to at least glance at every shot we got, every take we got. Then from there, I'll just make a folder for every scene. So scene 1 through scene 40, right? Scene 1, all the footage that's now synced in there. Scene 2, okay. And then I'll make a timeline for each scene. So scene 1 timeline, and I'll put camera A and camera B, if they're synced, over. And I'll watch all the way through, maybe just camera A, I'll watch all the way through, grab my selects, pull them up, and then camera B, keeping it still synced, but pull it up, just turning the video 1 off, video 2, you get what I'm saying. So, and then, I will watch everything. And with Burt, I did not miss a single second. I was, and this is the most I've ever kind of done this, where I'm like, I need to watch quite literally every single frame, because there's so much going on with this, and it's just the way we shot it. I didn't want to overlook anything. I wanted to make sure that I felt like I was literally editing what I would consider the best version of this footage, of this movie. And so I did, and once I had my selects, once I'm like, okay, these are all the usable pieces from that footage, then I would then duplicate the timeline and watch it again and start building and then duplicate, and I'd start narrowing it down until I basically had like the best of the best moments, and then from there, I would basically build the scene, meaning like, am I on this character, A cam, B cam, maybe this line's actually here, maybe I can, I'm missing a pause here. All right, go back to the earlier timelines. I need a moment of just Burt just sitting there still. Okay, here's a couple options, try them all. Okay, I like this one most, okay, great. And then boom, scene's done, on to scene 2. And I did that for every scene. I spent 10 weeks editing the movie. I probably had a great cut at 8 weeks, and then a picture lock at 10 weeks, which is pretty fast, working on it every day, but yeah.
What do you do if there was a magical improv moment, but you didn't get it for some technical reason? What do you do?
Cool question. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, there's a magical moment that we didn't actually capture. I mean, you're not going to repeat magic. You're just not. It's magic for a reason. I will say that there are times where maybe there's like an improvised moment that I'm like, oh, I loved that. And we did not capture it, but it does give us an idea of how we could maybe redo it in a way that isn't going to be exact, but it's like a good idea, right? So it's like, whatever it is, we'll try, we'll see. If I see a moment, I'm like, we didn't capture that, but I love that.
But you do magic, and how did you learn it?
Self-taught. Yeah, I went to there's a magic store in Toledo, Ohio, where I grew up, and they would sell at this time, at this time it was VHS tapes, but I would buy VHS tapes from some of my favorite magicians who kind of, there's books in like video that you can learn from. And then also like classes and stuff if you want to do all that. But I kind of was self-taught through magic, like little kits I had as a kid, and then kind of growing up and then getting more advanced in some of the magic books and videos and stuff I would buy from the magic store. But one thing I actually did is I became friends with a professional magician who worked at another magic shop that was bike riding distance from my house. So in junior high, when I was like 13, 14, after school, I'd ride my bike up to this magic store. His name was Randy the Magician. And it was actually kind of a costume store, but they had a little section for magic because he worked the whole store, but he was also doing magic. And he sort of was like my mentor. He kind of trained me. My first like professional gig, I used his equipment because he like let me use his like case and everything. And really quirky, interesting guy, long hair, handlebar mustache, snakeskin boots, drove around in a van called, said Randy the Magician. Coincidentally, it's a big character in one of the scripts I wrote since that Randy the Magician's in there. It's a great role. Hopefully I can make the script one day, we'll see. But I love the character. I loved what he was teaching me. And so yeah, I had a mentor as well that was really helpful in that.
How is magic similar to film?
It's all an illusion, right? Everything that we have to sell in making a movie is not usually really happening, but you need the audience to think it is. And so that's same with magic. The beauty of magic is it's the show. It's the feeling you get. Nothing's really disappearing. Nothing's really yada, yada, yada. But like in front of you, you can't interpret it any other way. I believe what I just saw. I'm emotionally affected by what I just saw. I'm smiling, I'm crying, I'm cheering, I'm this. It's same with the movie. You know, the person on screen, you know, are they're not really dying, but the character might be in a death scene or whatever it is. They're not really winning the lottery, but you're cheering that they did win the lottery. It's like you just have to sell the illusion in a way that people really appreciate. And everyone knows they're watching a movie. They know that going in. They know, I mean, not everyone knows, but most people know what a movie is. And, you know, there's a bunch of people on set, or a few people on set in our case, and there's a camera, and there's lights, and there's makeup, and there's this, and there's that. But at the end of the day, you're believing that what you're watching is really unfolding. The story's really unfolding. You know, you really believe that you know, creepy character is in the closet. Don't go in there. No, don't open the door. You know, you're selling the illusion. And I think there is a big correlation between magic and filmmaking. I think it's a great question.
And so when you saw Randy the Magician entertaining people, is that when you realized that I need to entertain people every day? That makes me happy.
Oh, that's interesting. I would say before that. I would say I got into kind of like, before that. The magic stuff and working with Randy was certainly a big inspiration for me, but I loved even as a kid, just making these movies in the backyard at 8, 9, 10 years old. I mean, I don't know. I can't, and I always think about this, and I'm sure we all do in our own way. Like, why do you like what you like? Why are your hobbies your hobbies? What I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. Like, you know, do I feel like my gift, my thing to do in this lifetime is to make movies and tell stories and make people laugh or feel stuff or whatever? I do believe it is. Why me? Why? I don't know. I'm not sure why. You're kind of born in a way, and raised in a way where, you know, LeBron James, you know, I mean, why was he destined to be the best basketball player? And I saw him play in high school. We're both from Ohio. We're about the same age. And so I always watched him too, being like, man, this guy, he was just sort of birthed with this blessing or gift or whatever to genetics, whatever, to just grow into being the best basketball player to maybe ever live, you know? And obviously it comes with recognizing you have this raw talent and then nurturing it and practicing and just striving and doing your best and just going to summer camp and doing this and just like, I mean, there is a level of like, you could be born with a gift, but you don't embrace it and you don't nurture it, and then some could call that a wasted talent. Some could just call it whatever. Maybe there's no judgment at all. Maybe it's like, yeah, I could be a great piano player. I have the gift to play piano, but I don't want to practice 10 hours a day for 20 years. That's just not what I want to do. And that's okay too. But yeah, there's something to it. And so, I don't know. I think just the gift and why I want to entertain and do all this, it stems from something. I'm not exactly sure what. It feels like it's in my DNA to a certain extent, as we all feel. And I'm just, the older I get, the more I even want to embrace it more and more. Yeah.
Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. Here is a complimentary question from our book Story Questions.